Chris Collinsworth's love of Saquon Barkley's thighs is clearly greater than Vontae Davis's love of football. Mike Tomlin has less control over the Steelers' locker room than my grandpa does over his iPhone. And the Patriots' wide receiver core has more turnover than your local Tim Hortons, but could probably still get your order right. I'm Jeff Blagden.
And I'm not retiring in the middle of this podcast.
And this is Fourth and Goal.
Yo, I have so much to say about Vontae Davis.
I wonder how much more amped up we'd be at the beginning of these things if we actually had that music playing in our ears as we...
Yeah.
For anyone in the dark about what happens here, yeah, the music doesn't actually play behind us. That goes in post, so you get a lot more amped up than we do. Yeah. But it is what it is. So Vontae Davis, $3.5 million to play a preseason.
What a loser, honestly. How do you quit in the middle of a game? You're a bitch. That's all I have to say. Like, I'm getting heated.
I get the end of it where it's like what he was saying with his body just couldn't take it anymore, and that's it. I felt that during the middle of the season. But finish the game, man.
Finish the game or go up to the coaches and say you're injured. One or the other. Don't just dip at halftime. Be like, yo, I'm out. I retire. Like, honestly, what a loser.
If he fakes an injury, though, doesn't that void some of his guaranteed money?
Maybe that's why he didn't do it.
I feel like I could be completely off base on that, but I feel like it happened before or something, and I'm pulling or grasping at a straw here in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
I can't. Anyway, I don't know whether that's true or not, but I don't see any other reason why why would you opt to piss off your teammates when...
Yeah, and I don't understand. Like, he came into this season and he complained because in week 1, they didn't start him right away. And he complained that he wasn't starting straight away. He's like, and he literally said, he's like, yeah, I feel good. And then game 2, he starts and he's like, yo, I can't do this. Like, who are you? Honestly, I hope you're ready the rest of your life. You're not going to be remembered as a decent corner, a 2-time Pro Bowler. You're going to be remembered as the guy who quit in the middle of a game.
Does anybody get remembered for Pro Bowls?
Well, that's really his only accolades, so...
That's fair. Also, this week, on top of Vontae Davis, there's, of course, Le'Veon Bell. Still not showing up.
Yep.
But... Then Antonio Brown misses not practice, but team meetings. What's going on in the Steelers locker room?
I think you said it best earlier this year, like in a couple podcasts ago, where you were talking about the Steelers and Mike Tomlin not having control. And you said it in the intro. It's absolutely correct. They've lost all control of that team.
At this point, I honestly don't see how Tomlin has a job next year.
No, me neither.
Honestly, unless they win the Super Bowl somehow, miraculously, I think that is literally the only thing that could save Mike Tomlin's career with the Steelers is winning the Super Bowl at this point. But for a normal team, that is, I think we touched on it last week at least, that the Steelers don't fire head coaches. Mm-hmm. So, we'll see what happens. Personally, if I was in charge of that team, he'd be gone.
Oh, 1,000%.
But, maybe they see something that we don't see in Mike Tomlin, because what I see is a guy who can't get control of his locker room, who has underachieved with fantastic players, who, sure, he won a Super Bowl a decade ago with Bill Cowher's team, but what have you done for me lately? Underachieved with a very, very talented offense, probably the most talented offense the Pittsburgh Steelers have ever had over the past few years. And you can't put together, for a team that has the championship pedigree of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you're putting together teams that could be all-time on either side of the ball for them, you feel like those two things going together should mean championships, should mean any achievement at all. And there's not really, you went 13-3 last year. That was your best record with this team together, and you've had it for a while now, and you've had pieces around it as well, and just
And then they still gave up, 40-plus points to a horrible Jacksonville offense in the playoffs?
Yeah, they're just... This is not necessarily the team on the field, because they have just enough talent to pull them through all this shenanigans out there, because that's what they're going off of here. Purely Absolutely. The talent on the field, because something's up in that locker room. But, like, if he... At least in there, it seems to me he doesn't have control. So... Mm-hmm. And I don't think he even has control of his motions half the time, because he's out there tripping players on the field. He just...
yeah, baby.
I don't know. But that's just, of course, my take on the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Of course, Antonio Brown did end up going to practice, and he does intend to play this week. Apparently, a small little slap on the wrist there from the Steelers.
Well, and it all kind of stemmed off of that tweet, too, where he put "trade me," where he said, like, he would prove that he's as good basically anywhere. And he just put in that tweet, "trade me." That's not something you put, even if it's as a joke, like as a professional athlete on Twitter. Like, come on.
So, obviously we know at least partially time for it in Pittsburgh at least. But do you think the panic time has set in for the Giants right now? I mean, how do you fix that team?
Start over. Other than Saquon Barkley, you start over.
I find it interesting they have two of the guys that we're led to believe are two of the biggest offensive weapons in the game right now. I mean, Saquon Barkley I haven't seen a player come into the league with as much hype as him that hasn't been a quarterback in forever. And
I would say since Zeke had a lot of hype too.
I'd say Saquon hasn't beat on the hype, man. I mean, Zeke had a lot of hype, but I don't know if it's anything like what I've seen around Saquon.
That's fair.
But, you've got him and, of course, Odell Beckham Jr. And these two guys together on a team, you should be able to build an offense around that works at least. Even if you're doing what I just said about the Steelers, where you're running purely off of the talent of it, you got to be able to put something together with these guys, right?
Do you think that a lot of this comes from coaching? Because last year, they had Ben McAdoo. Now they have Pat Shermer, sorry.
I think for sure part of it comes from coaching, because it doesn't look like they're running the plays to get these guys involved, which should be easy to do. Every time I see Odell Beckham Jr. touch the ball, it's off of a slant route. Like, I don't see him being thrown to, at least going deep or any real route that isn't just a slant over the middle. And Saquon Barkley, I mean, we haven't seen much of him at the NFL level, but you should be able to at least include that in your offense as well. But we're not seeing it at all from this Giants offense, which was supposed to be a pretty good offense coming into the beginning of the year.
I mean, the first two games, like against Jacksonville, you went up against one of the toughest defenses in the league. You lost that game by, 5 points. It wasn't awful. You went up against a very good defense, still put up 15, gave up 20. The game with Dallas this past week, again, because it was, 8 points, 7 points? Yeah, 7-point game, 20-13 the game was. And I don't know, like, it's same deal. I feel like against Dallas, maybe you're hoping to get more than what you got against Jacksonville, not less.
So, how do you fix this team?
I don't know, man. That's tough. They go into Houston this coming week, and I think if they're not going to fire the coach like midseason, they're going to give him the whole year. We know that
for sure. First year coach.
And realistically, in how do you change this? Just be more creative, like you said. Give Odell a route where he's just running straight down the field. Let him try to get himself open, and then I put in some trick plays with Saquon as well. Throw a couple pitches to the guy, like something.
Eli just looks tired out there too.
Yeah, he's starting to look a little old.
Like, he just, like, you see his face on screen after he's taking these hits, because he's taken some hits this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Already.
That was the next thing I was going to say, is he has taken some big bumps, and that doesn't help either, especially with an older quarterback now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've thought he's been close to the end of the line as far as his NFL career is concerned for a little while now, but I don't know if I've ever seen him just look tired. Like, he just looks like he's done.
Yeah, I think realistically, maybe after this year, that might be it for Eli.
I think it's going to depend how the year goes, right?
Yeah, if they could pick it up and turn it around, yeah, it depends. I think if they have a losing season, maybe he leaves or he retires, one way or the other.
Well, the thing too is they don't have anyone else behind him to take over, to take the reins.
I mean, unless they're a top quarterback in the draft.
Well, I mean, that remains to be seen. We'll see what happens out of that. But they had a chance at a quarterback this year. They obviously went with Saquon Barkley, but
because
I don't know if as good as Saquon Barkley is, if maybe that was your chance, that was your time.
Because, yeah, by the time this season ends, Eli Manning is going to be 38 years old.
And there was a lot of good quarterbacks available there at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Baker was off the board. Other than that,
they still had Sam Darnold.
You could have had Darnold. You could have had either of the Joshes.
Allen and Rosen, yeah.
Yeah, there was good quarterbacks on the board that you could have taken and had groom behind Eli for a little bit. I mean, I don't know if there's very many quarterbacks playing right now. I'd rather have someone sit behind and groom behind than someone who's a Manning brother. His brother is arguably one of the best. Well, not arguably one of. You could argue is the best quarterback of all time. I wouldn't, but you could. You could. Yep. And his dad is Archie Manning, who managed to put up some numbers with the worst teams of all time when he was in the league. And Eli's been obviously around for a long time himself. 2 Super Bowls.
2-time Super Bowl champion.
Not too many people I'd rather have a rookie quarterback learn behind for a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that the Giants seem to have never done. They've never really had like a young guy behind Manning. At least I can't think of one.
There's that guy from Syracuse they drafted the 1 year. I can't remember. Nassib? I think is his name Nassib? I don't know. I don't remember. But I think that's the only time they've really gone early round for a quarterback.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like it's this weird thing where they're like, Eli's is going to go forever. Like, no, he's not.
So, which teams do you think? I mean, it's early in the season, but sometimes early in the season is when it needs to happen, especially with what you see, maybe with what teams are putting together. What teams do you think need to enter panic mode?
You mean so teams that are not in panic mode yet, but need to get there?
Or are in panic mode? What teams are deserving of it at this point? Or not necessarily deserving, but need to do it?
Pittsburgh, definitely. You know what? I'm already thinking Houston. 0-2 to start the year.
Watson looked better. Watson looked
better. But, I mean, they're not winning. I know it's 2 games.
I'll give Houston a bit more time because they got a lot of young pieces. For me, what I'm thinking when I think of going into panic mode is you have veteran players. You know, this is your time. You should be in win now mode, right? I look at Houston. Well, I mean, you can think of it however you want, and just like you know, my personal perspective on it. But like Houston, they have young pieces. They're good. Their window of opportunity is much larger than a lot of teams right now. So. Mm-hmm. I could get around having another bad season, maybe picking up someone in the draft.
I would put Seattle in there, definitely.
I would definitely agree with Seattle. Although, well, I would agree that they should be, but also I just don't know if they have the talent to be anything else.
And I know at the beginning of the year, like the 3 of us, you, myself, and Christian, we all said like obviously they were going to fall off, but the way they've gone down 0-2 and now with Doug Baldwin out, like they don't have anyone other than Russell Wilson.
The offense is a problem. Yeah, I watched that game and just seeing Russell not scramble as a quarterback, but scramble like mindset wise to try to find anybody out there to have anything work out. And it was just, I mean, I know you were going against a very good defense. Let's give them credit where credit is due. Especially Khalil Mack, he was amazing that game. I don't know if I've ever seen a more dominant outside linebacker in a game than what I saw this week against Seattle there for the Bears. But that being said, there's always going to be holes where you can make something happen, but it wasn't opening up at all for Russell back there. And I felt I actually felt sorry for him. And as a Cardinals fan, it's hard for me to feel sorry for Russell Wilson. But I actually did. I felt a little sorry for Russell Wilson. The talent is just not there on that offense.
No, and his number 1 and 2 receiver right now are Brendan Marshall and Tyler Lockett. Lockett has been okay in the red zone.
Lockett's barely a receiver.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. He's been a red zone threat for them when they even get there. And Brendan Marshall's 30-something years old. Like, he's getting old now. And he just came off an injury last year where he didn't even play.
Yeah. Tyler Lockett's a wide receiver like McDonald's is a restaurant. They're very...
Ooh.
Very, very vague. But, I'd agree with Seattle needing to enter panic mode, although I don't know if that'll even help them, to be honest, because there's just so many holes to fill there. That offensive line is terrible. It somehow might be the worst offensive line Russell Wilson's ever had to work with, and he's had some pretty horrible ones.
Again, not taking anything away from the Bears,
they crumbled. Yeah, they were crumbling to pressure.
Yeah, like
that O-line.
Every pass rush, any pressure, they just got rushed and hard.
Yeah, I don't know how many plays I watched where Russell didn't at least get touched by the defense. Like, it was, like I said, it made me feel bad for him, and that's hard to do. So I don't know if that team is fixable per se. So speaking of saying I was an Arizona Cardinals fan, the worst team in the NFL right now, the worst coaching staff I've ever seen assembled. But Sam Bradford right now is currently the 33rd ranked fantasy quarterback this year.
Yo, congrats. How does it feel to not have the third worst or the worst quarterback in history in Nate Peterman?
Oh, it's true. It's true. I no longer have to say that Ryan Lindley, the worst quarterback in NFL history, played for my team because he's only the second worst quarterback in NFL history now.
We took that title. The only title.
Although Peterman has, however slight, a chance of improving on it, I don't think Lindley ever gets to touch a football in the NFL again.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
Blaine Gabbert, in case you were wondering, who has played a half of relief football, is the guy who ranks higher than Sam Bradford. Actually, to be fair, both of your starting quarterbacks also rank lower than Sam Bradford.
Nice.
Somehow Lamar Jackson is higher, who has played a quarter of regular season football.
Maybe because he might get a catch, that's why.
He's played a quarter of regular season football, and he's ranked higher than 8 quarters from Sam Bradford. But there it is. I just had to put that in there since it was a little bit of a segue there. The only other thing before we get into our picks here, or talking about last week at least, is that I wanted to ask, with him climbing up the all-time leaderboard, where do you rank Frank Gore all-time?
See, that's a tough one because Frank Gore, I always felt was like a quiet, but always a decent and just workhorse player. Where do I rank him all time? Probably not high because he's like, I take nothing away from the guy, but he's never been like the flashy, exciting running back, compared to a guy like, if you're telling me who would I rather watch, and I'm not saying all time, David Johnson or Frank Gore, I'm going to tell you David Johnson probably every single day. But all time, it's really hard to say again, because if you're going in terms of getting their job done, yeah, he's definitely up there. I mean, he just moved into number 4 on his yardage. But I don't know. It's really tough to say.
Yeah. I don't know if I can justify giving him like a top 10 running back ranking.
That's what I mean. I don't know if I could. And I hate saying that because, again, he is the number 4 all-time leading rusher in the NFL.
I think it comes down to kind of a standard argument in production versus longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got a guy in Frank Gore who has been moderately productive for a really long time, right? Mm-hmm. But what do you want more? Moderately productive for a really long time or really productive for a short time, right? Because Terrell Davis is in the Hall of Fame now,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Incredibly productive for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it. That's about it.
Yep.
And 2 Super Bowls to show for it, right?
Yeah,
an MVP to show for it. And then you got a guy like Frank Gore, who 1,100 yards, pretty much right around there every single year for a very long time for a running back, at least. Yeah. And what does he have to show for it?
5 Pro Bowls.
Has he even won a playoff game? I'm honestly not sure.
Yeah,
well, obviously he was with that Niners team that went to the Super Bowl, but you know what I mean, right? Like it's
if he had a ring and an MVP as well, then yeah, definitely I would be saying much else.
Right? It's just most people value that short-term production more so than long-term mediocrity.
Yeah, and again, I'm not taking anything away because the guy's 35 and last year still put up decent numbers. And this year might do it again, but, you know, he's just not like that. When you think of running backs all time in the NFL, you're not going to be like, hey, Frank Gore highlights. Like,
right. Speaking of, real quick, of short-term versus long-term there, the guy who's in third place ahead of him, Barry Sanders, man, it blows my mind that we're talking the guy in third place all time, retired in the prime of his career after 9 seasons in the NFL, and then you have Frank Gore, who's in his 307th season, and just coming up behind him. Like, man, Barry Sanders.
Hey, 10 years in the league for Barry, and he went to number 3.
Yeah, it's wild. Just I can't imagine if he played longer. Guys like him and Jim Brown, who ended their careers in their primes, and the numbers they could have if they kept going.
Barry would no doubt have passed Walter Payton.
Oh, for sure. If the problem too is Emmett had a really long career, so even if Barry kept playing, to justify that he would have had a career as long as Emmitt Smith's is hard. Right?
Yeah, because Emmett was 14 years. He played 1990 to 04.
Which, for a running back, that's pretty crazy.
That's
running backs don't play that long, right? Aside from Frank Gore. So, but yeah. So, getting into games that were actually played this week, we have the Ravens and the Bengals. It was 34-23. Yeah, 34-23 for the Bengals, the final there.
You know what? I don't say this often. I really liked Cincinnati in that game. I sat down, I watched the whole game. I have a couple friends who are big Baltimore fans. And we sat and watched it, and Cincinnati looked good all around. I don't know if Baltimore was just coming off of that win after playing Buffalo, like just with their heads so held high that they didn't look good. But again, like, Cincinnati impressed me. I know it's one game that I've watched them, but again, I liked what I saw from them all around.
If you were building a team and you had to take one of these two quarterbacks, Joe Flacco or Andy Dalton, who you taking?
Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I think it's tough.
It's absolutely tough.
Because the thing is, Flacco has wins, and I like to value that.
Here's my thing. Andy Dalton knows that he's like bang average mediocre. He knows it. Joe Flacco doesn't realize he is.
Joe Flacco thinks he's elite.
He thinks he's elite. And I think Joe Flacco have a quarterback who knows what he is.
I think Joe Flacco throughout his career has been the center point of NFL quarterbacks. Like he's 100%. Like if your quarterback is worse than Joe Flacco, you need to look for another one in the draft. If your quarterback is better than Joe Flacco, you're probably good to go for another couple of years or so.
Exactly.
Yet he wins games. He's a good game manager, and you put good pieces around him, and you can win games. Right. Dalton will surprise you. You don't know what you're going to get one week to another. One week you'll get 5 TDs, 0 INTs, red rifle. The next week you'll get the Balishnikov. He'll just 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. It just explode out there. I don't know. Chiefs Steelers 42-37 for the dominant Kansas City Chiefs, and
Patrick Mahomes is a machine. 10 touchdowns in 2 games, in his 2 first career starts.
Yeah, first 2 starts.
First 2 games of the season. This man has 10 touchdowns. This kid's nuts.
And the craziest part, Ben Roethlisberger put up more fantasy points that game.
He also threw the ball 60 times. 452 yards, 3 touchdowns.
When you're playing from behind for that long.
It's true.
You gotta do it.
But can we just go back and talk about how bloody good Mahomes was?
Oh, he was good.
The guy has 5 incompletions.
The Steelers, he had more touchdowns than incompletions that game.
That's so ridiculous.
Crazy. That's Aaron Rodgers-like numbers there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this game was just a constant stream of offense, and I'm surprised how little of an impact Kareem Hunt has had so far this season for them.
Yeah, I talked about that with a couple friends as well. We were talking about how Hunt, still 75 yards is fine, considering when your quarterback's out there throwing 6 touchdowns. But I think when Hunt gets it going, I think he's just kind of in a bit of that sophomore slump. When he gets it going, can you imagine how disgusting this offense is going to be?
It's going to be scary.
Because he is going to get it going. It's not like he's a one-season wonder. He's not. He's a very good player.
You got Mahomes, you got Hunt, you got Tyreek Hill, you got Kelce. It's that offense, man. The offensive line is great too.
Yeah,
let's not forget about that.
And you even have, again, if he can stay healthy, you got Sammy Watkins there too as a receiver.
Yep, who is a great deep threat to have.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a scary offense. See where it goes this year. Titans pulling out the win in this one. Blaine Gabbert, 20-17 for the Titans.
I really wish I bet on this game for Tennessee. The odds were so good. What can you do? But yeah, you said it. Deshaun Watson looked much better than he did the first game. I know they played New England. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Still 310 yards passing. But what do you attribute to this when you look at the loss? Was it Houston's defense? Did they not do enough on offense?
It's one of those games where I feel like the team that lost is the better team. It just somehow lost. They outplayed them and somehow lost, and I feel like a lot of it was losing the field position battle. Titans getting the ball close to scoring all the time. It was situational things. The spots where the Texans failed are the spots that are going to kill you, right? But they also had success. It's just the timing of when their failures were is what led to them losing this game.
Right. Yeah,
and I feel like that's an impact of a young team. That's the signs that the team is young, don't know necessarily what to do in those situations, especially when you got a young quarterback leading your team out there. You got a J.J. Watt leading your defense who hasn't had a sack in over 2 years. So it's, it's a learning curve and it's a process, but I think the Texans have the blocks to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins-Jets. What a boring game.
Yeah.
I can't believe Darnold threw for over 300 yards. I can't believe it. Seeing the portions of that game that I saw, I looked at the numbers. I was like, really? He's got that many? There's been that many this whole game?
You had that and Frank Gore getting the record. That was basically it.
Yeah, it was a pretty boring game. Saints-Browns. The Saints didn't lose to the Browns.
The Browns lost to the Saints. The Browns lost to the Browns.
This is more of a the Browns didn't win than,
their kicker sucks.
Than New Orleans won.
I'm so glad they cut him. This guy missed an extra point and then missed the field goal to win. This team is cursed.
It wasn't a great week for kickers.
Oh yeah, this whole week we didn't even mention that at the top of the show. Yeah, this week has been absolute garbage for kickers.
Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers.
Another tie.
Boy. Yeah, 2 in a row. 2 weeks in a row.
Speaking of kickers, Minnesota's kicker in this one. What's with Minnesota the past few years?
Hey, they got Dan Bailey now.
Yeah, now they got Dan Bailey. But I mean, for the past few years, Minnesota has had just absolute garbage at kicker. Do they not know how the kicking position works? Because they had Blair Welsh, who was trash. And now they had this jabroni who was garbage. Now they're finally like, oh, let's go get Dan Bailey. About time. Like,
this game just proves to me one thing. It's Aaron Rodgers' world, and we're all just living in it.
He's so good. I love Aaron Rodgers.
You know, sometimes they say that sometimes a overtime or a tie feels worse than a loss.
Yeah.
I think for the Vikings, the tie feels all right. For the Packers, the tie feels worse than a loss.
Vikings did rally well late, though.
Yeah, I just
like Kirk.
You gotta think. The problem is you had a situation where you're in Green Bay, right? Aaron Rodgers is hobbled. You saw him at the end of the last game. He is not 100%. He is not good. This is probably the best situation you're going to have to walk away with a win in Lambeau, especially with the way the game was going. And you come out with a tie, and you got to think, what the hell do you have to do to win a game in Green Bay against this team, right?
It's tough.
But that's where I think it feels like the loss to the Vikings is everything lined up so well for them to take this win, and for Green Bay it was more of an expected win, right? Because at home in Green Bay, Rodgers is playing. Just completed this epic comeback the week before, right? Spirits are high, and you end up losing. So I feel like it's kind of a letdown for both teams, but I feel like just a slightly more so for the Packers.
Yeah, I could see that. Especially they jumped on them early, like when they got that lead.
Yeah.
Green Bay.
Colts Redskins 21-9.
What do you think of Washington so far? 2 games in.
I think they're learning to be a team, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
The Alex Smith way, yeah.
Yeah, there's there's a little bit of work there to be done on the offensive side of the ball. That's what I get from the Redskins.
That's Alex Smith, baby.
Bucks Eagles. The Bucks beating Fitzmagic beating the defending Super Bowl champions. The defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. It will always feel weird to say.
But then when you say that Fitzpatrick came out and absolutely smoked them, and for the second week in a row, maybe other than Mahomes, the best quarterback in the NFL.
Magic.
Fitzmagic. 402 yards, 4 touchdowns. Walks into his press conference looking like Conor McGregor. What an absolute machine. I love this man. I hope he keeps going at this rate. Big news for Philly, though. This week, Carson Wentz is back.
Exactly, and hopefully he can recapture that MVP candidate form. Turn things around for an offense that's not looked good so far this year.
Yeah, despite having the one win, they looked okay. Like, you had Ajayi who had a great game in week 1.
Arguably, this game was better than the win.
Yeah, you can make that argument.
For the offense, at least.
For the offense, yeah.
Chargers-Bills. The debut of Mr. Josh Allen.
You know what? Josh Allen looked okay. I'm not going to jump the gun and be like, he still has a lot to prove. 245 yards on an offense that has Kelvin Benjamin, and basically that's it. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He was also sacked 5 times. Like, he got eaten out there.
So the Josh Allen era in Buffalo begins with a loss.
Are you shocked? I'm just glad it wasn't 5 interceptions. Yo, hold up. Give me 1 sec. I know we're in the middle of a podcast, but hold on.
I feel like he's gone to deal with that little barking situation in the background there. While he is gone, we're going to get into some more topics a little bit later. Some of your favorite segments coming up. We got the incognito segment, fantasy, of course, because you all stick around to listen for our fantasy predictions, despite the fact that I currently have 3 0-2 fantasy teams, because I just can't draft wide receivers, which has always been my problem, or they just get hurt. I should just put out a list for you guys of all the wide receivers that are on my team week to week, and to just cut those guys because they're going to have terrible weeks or they're going to get hurt and miss the rest of the season just because they're on my team, and that's the way it rolls.
What the hell are you talking about?
Hey, there we go. Just fantasy wide receivers because I can't seem to draft any that are half decent. Anyway, where were we? Falcons Panthers 31-24. Falcons.
What do you make of Carolina?
I don't think they're a very good team. I think they're a 500 team.
Yeah, like week 1 they looked okay. Week 2 they didn't look good. I don't like. Is it Rivera? Is it the team?
I think it's the talent on the team. You got some, but I don't think you have enough.
You don't really have any. Like Devin Funchess, I thought would be doing a lot better. Again, it's 2 games in. It sounds weird to say, but I thought in the 2 games Funchess might be getting a little more. The rookie DJ Moore has been okay. McCaffrey is McCaffrey. He's not a running back. He's a receiving.
I'll give him that he's been better than I gave him credit for. I said at the beginning of the year he'd be bad. He's been okay so far. He's been pretty good actually so far.
Okay.
So I take my shots.
Other than that, I think it was a nice bounce back win for Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta. I think Atlanta's a very talented team. I think they can go far this year. They just need to kind of pull things together and have everything to click at the right time. I think second year under this coaching regime, I feel like Matt Ryan is going to get used to things the way they are, new offense, and I think things are going to click for them this year. Mm-hmm. Rams Cardinals, this pretty much ended exactly the way everyone predicted it would.
What a yikes.
This I'm going to touch on this Cardinals team a little later with particularly the Mike McCoy-led offense, but I'll get to that later.
Yeah.
This is not a good team, and they went up against probably the first, if not second, most talented roster in the league, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's what happens, and they're going to have to do it again.
Takes over, yeah.
They're going to have to do it again this season because Rams.
49ers Lions.
Yes, 30-27 for the Niners. I actually feel bad, like in my heart, for Matt Stafford this season. I do. He's getting hit every single time, but he's being a warrior. He's coming back out. He's showing why he's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the game, despite the fact that he has a baby face. Like Steph Curry mode, baby face assassin.
Yep.
Except all he does is throw deep balls.
Jimmy Garoppolo's looking pretty good. Kept it simple. 206, 2 touchdowns.
You know what they say? Ladies love the deep ball. They love Matt Stafford because he throws the deep ball.
I hate you.
Matt Bray, to take you over this game, pretty much the story of this one here. Although Golden Tate is having a quietly fantastic year to start the year too. Mm-hmm. For this Lions team, which I hope can get better because I like Stafford.
You know why I want them to do well?
Because you don't want the rest of that team to do good?
Patrick, baby.
Pats Jaguars. Jaguars pulling off the upset in their first ever win in New England, 31-20.
Brady losing his absolute mind on the sidelines. That was fun to watch.
And then saying he might want a divorce from Bill Belichick.
Wait, what?
Yeah, apparently he said this week, I guess it came out yesterday, the day before, that in the offseason he thought about wanting a divorce from Bill Belichick.
Well, there was I remember that rumor starting after the Super Bowl, that maybe there was tension between the two of them.
Yeah, but they're the Pats. They're still going to win games, and they always, when they have bad games, it's always early in the season. They always come back.
Speaking of Joe Flacco thinking you're elite, what about Blake Bortles? 4 TDs, 1 interception, 377 yards.
Hey man, Blake Bortles is leading a talented team. He might be the quarterback they need. I have no complaints about the way.
Aikman.
I don't know about that. His numbers are a little better. He's definitely got a stronger arm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Jags pulling off the win in this one. I'm not actually that surprised because I figured New England would. They always have a stinker early in the year. I feel like this is the one for them. And this seems like, against this talented team, this seems like the one they'd drop.
Right.
All right. Broncos beating the Raiders by 1 point.
So, can we spoke about it before we started recording. What about John Gruden saying it's hard to find a pass rusher in this league?
John Gruden's an asshat.
And you traded Khalil Mack.
I feel like I just gave somebody a soundbite that's too good there.
John Gruden's an asshat.
Someone's going to cut that.
Love it.
Hold it over my head. He is, though. Fuck this guy. Like, he comes in, everyone thinks he's going to be this fantastic, like, savior for this team, signs this ridiculous deal, $100 million for a head coach. Are you kidding me? Are you insane? 10 years for one head coach you're giving this guy? He's going to get fired after 3 of them at this rate.
Yep.
This guy is garbage. Trades Khalil Mack, then comes back and says that, then gives these sound bites to the media in the first place. You were a member of the media for a decade. How can you not realize what's going to go on when you do something like that?
Yeah, you're such an idiot.
You're an asshat, John Gruden.
He's such an idiot. Like, I love it.
Cowboys-Giants. This is the most boring game of the year so far.
Yeah, we touched on this one already a little bit. Barkley, they got a talented team, but just got nothing going for them. No creativity.
They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. With
yeah,
this
there's
team.
no creativity.
They have no idea. Seahawks,
Chicago.
Bears. This game, I actually watched the whole game. For some reason,
Me
I've
too.
watched every minute of every Chicago Bears game so far this year.
It's
Don't know
that
why
Bears
that is.
defense, man.
But goddamn is that defense good. Goddamn
That
is
defense
Khalil
is
Mack
fun.
good. Khalil Mack is my MVP to this point in the year. He has been insane.
That their defense is literally, it's just fun to watch because like they got a little bit of everything. They got a good rush. They cover well downfield. Like they're just good.
That second quarter, I don't think there was a single defensive stop, and there was a lot of defensive stops. I don't think there was a single one that Khalil Mack wasn't involved in, wasn't directly involved in. Like, he was in the backfield, he was taking up someone else's man while the other guy got the sack, he was blocking a pass, he was getting into the backfield, there was a strip sack, he was just...
Yeah.
That second quarter was Khalil Mack. Like, take that second quarter and show it to John Gruden on repeat so that he'll have nightmares for the rest of his life for what he's done, because John Gruden, you're an asshat.
It was like the same deal with the first quarter too against Green Bay, or the first half you could even say it was just all Khalil Mack.
The monster.
Like that
Absolute
guy single-handedly. Like I don't even want to say he's carrying the like he is, but the defense is playing decent as well.
All right, getting in to the week that we have coming up. We're not going to talk Jets-Browns because that is happening right now as we speak. Sorry, guys, they're not listening on this live. It is recorded, hence my whole music comment at the beginning. So we got Packers and Washington going into Washington.
It's a good game. Washington looking for a bounce back, but Aaron Rodgers is playing. I'm picking the Packers.
I think I'm actually going to take Washington on this one.
Okay.
Because Rodgers has missed practice a lot this week. He has even come out and said he's concerned that his knee might get worse. So I don't think he's got much confidence in himself. And I think if Aaron Rodgers doesn't have confidence, the Green Bay Packers have an issue. So I think Washington wins this one. Alex Smith, I think he does enough managing this game. New Orleans Saints going into Atlanta to play the Falcons.
Again, I think this is going to be a good game. Saints in Atlanta. That's a good one, man. Like, this is a good game. I'm going to take Atlanta by 3.
I'm taking Atlanta too, and I'm taking them because they're the home team, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Titans, Jags.
Jags.
Yeah, this is a battle of one of the most talented teams in the league versus one of the most untalented teams in the league. Jags all the way.
Is
Mariota might not even
back?
be playing. Yeah, we don't know.
Oh, yeah,
he's
definitely.
He says he wants to play. That's what we're at.
Okay.
So, fun. Raiders, Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Yeah, Dolphins. The Raiders are bad.
Dolphins have looked okay first 2 games.
Derek Carr is not going to be in the league in 3 years. Colts, Eagles.
Eagles. Carson Wentz coming back. He's coming hot.
I'm going to take the Colts because of that same reason. Carson Wentz first game back. I don't know what he'll be. I don't know what he'll be like. I do know what Andrew Luck's going to be like, what I've seen the last 2 weeks, which hasn't been fantastic, but I think it's been enough to pick apart an Eagles team that hasn't looked good so far this year. Okay. Broncos, Ravens.
Ooh. Another, like, it's not going to be a barn burner, but it's a close call.
It's a close game, but it's close for different reasons from the other ones. It's close because both of these teams suck.
Yeah. You didn't have to say it that viciously.
Hey, man. I feel it. I'm taking the Ravens, by the way.
Ravens at home.
Bengals, Panthers.
I'm going Bengals.
Bengals, baby. I'm going Bengals, too.
Mm-hmm.
I lost where I was. Here we go. Giants. Texans.
Texans.
And I don't think it's gonna be close.
Yep.
Texans gonna whip those giant asses. 49ers, Chiefs.
Chiefs. Mahomes gonna put up another 3 touchdowns.
Watch this one devolve into a quarterback battle between Mahomes and Garoppolo.
I think this is gonna be a really fun game.
I'm going Chiefs. Bills, Vikings.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Poor Josh Allen. Your first career starts against the Chargers D, and now your second's going to be against the Vikings D. Like, this guy's going to die. Minnesota, no question. Probably by like 50.
Vikings, big. Rams, Chargers. Sorry, Chargers, Rams.
Los Angeles against Los Angeles. Rams.
Rams.
Chargers second half looked like absolute ass against the Bills, and I think the Rams are going to beat them and beat them good.
Bears, Cardinals.
Speaking of beating good, Chicago.
Yeah, I'm worried about Sam Bradford's future endeavors.
Yeah, this is the game. We said 3 to 5 games.
He better start getting his ducks in order. Checking all those boxes, because, man, Khalil Mack's coming for him, and it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be splat. I predict we see Josh Rosen this game, and I don't think it's going to be a choice.
I was going to say they're going to be like, Rosen, get in there, and he's going to look at Mike Glennon and be like, no, you go. It's going to be embarrassing. Bears. Cowboys, Seahawks. Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cowboys, too. Seahawks have done nothing to impress me in any way so far this year. Pats, Lions.
Ooh. Patricia's return against New England. I'm going Patriots. They had that loss, like you said, last week. That was kind of their, one game, and now it's fully loaded time.
Bill Belichick doesn't lose back-to-back games. I'm going Pats. Steelers, Bucks.
Ooh, does Fitz magic continue into Monday night? Yes, it does. I'm going Tampa.
I'm also going Tampa. Pittsburgh, we've talked enough at length about them this podcast. What? They're not good. They don't look good.
I know it's a Monday night game, but I'm going 48-42 Tampa.
What has to happen at this point for you to bench Fitzpatrick and put Winston in when he's off suspension?
He's injured. That's it.
What if he drops 3 in a row?
If he's still putting up decent numbers, guess what? He's still playing.
Okay.
If he's going out there and throwing 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions for 250 yards, well, guess what? Then he's going to get benched. I mean, it's going to have to be dramatic. I think this is going to be the game that really determines it.
It's time for some fantasy advice. We got your starts, sits, and the other one of the week.
What is the other one?
Sleepers. Starts, sits, and sleepers. Let's start with the sit. Who you got?
This is a tough one, man. There's a lot of defensive matchups here. Bench everyone on Arizona and Buffalo if you even got any.
I don't think anyone's got any on from either of those teams, especially on the offensive side. Fitz might not even play, so.
Okay, if Fitz is playing, don't play him. Go ahead.
Do you have a sit?
Yeah, I said if Fitz is playing, don't play Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah, that was your actual pick. Oh shit!
Yeah,
I thought you were just still ranking out the cards.
So no, Chicago is actually giving up the
I know.
third most. Yeah,
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because my sit is David Johnson against the Bears. Because that Bears D is amazing, and DJ hasn't looked great so far this year, and they don't even know how to use him because they're fucking that offense. As I said, I'm going to talk about it later, but my sit is David Johnson. Who's your start?
Ooh, start of the week. This one, again, kind of a toss-up. You know what? If he has not practiced the last 2 games, days, but if he does play T.Y. Hilton.
I'm going to the same game too, but mine's on the other side of the ball. I'm saying to start Carson Wentz for his first game back because he's playing against the Colts, so no need to worry about that rust in this game.
The thing is, like you said, Philly's defense hasn't looked as good in the first 2 games, and with Andrew Luck playing, I think T.Y. is going to put up a decent amount.
And to be fair, I like to generally grab players for my start that aren't as big of an obvious one as Wentz, but coming off that injury, some people might have concern. So I'm telling you, it's safe. It's safe to start him. Your sleeper this week?
Again, bit of a tough call. Sleeper of the week. To be honest, Jesus Christ. This is I feel like this week is very one-sided, and it might be a good week to play Pro Line for anyone out there. But my sleeper of the week, who do you have? I honestly don't know.
I got a guy that most of you can probably still pick up from waivers if you really want to. Bruce Ellington versus the Giants, because he is the deep threat for Houston, the guy who just runs the streaks all day, every day, and there's nobody who can keep up with anybody on that Giants D. So I feel like Bruce Ellington's going to put up some numbers this weekend. You're going to be able to grab him, I'm almost guaranteed, off of your waivers. There's no way this guy's on most people's team. He's the 3rd wide receiver on this team, and they haven't been that great so far as an offense to start the year. So you got Bruce Ellington, your 3rd wide receiver. I think he puts up 130 plus, gives you a touchdown this week.
Wow. Okay.
Hey man, when all you run is deep routes, that's like 3 catches.
Okay, that's true. Question for you: did you read this report that came out today regarding Colin Kaepernick's attorney / lawyer?
No, I saw it. I was gonna read it, then I didn't because I'm lazy.
Reportedly, the Raiders and Patriots have showed interest in signing him.
I don't see why the Raiders would.
Yeah, me neither. They just traded for the guy from Bills, AJ McCarron.
I don't really see why the Patriots would either.
I think it's just a crock of shit, but I just wanted to put it out there that is a report.
Those 2 teams, though, neither of them seem like teams that would need or want. Like, if you're going to make up teams that want to sign, why not make them believable teams? 'Cause that's stupid. Anyway. I don't remember what we were... Oh, yeah. Incognito.
Let's go.
This is where we rank on a scale of 0 to Richie Incognito how crazy a statement is. For the record, that is 0 to 10. 10 is Richie Incognito. Picture it as a scale that runs along a line. At the 10 is the face of that monster, Richie Incognito. So I'm going to give the statement. Brett is going to tell me how high it is on the scale. Terrell Davis saying Philip Lindsay can break his Broncos rushing record.
Ooh. Yeah, it's still too early. I'll give it a 7.
Josh Allen leads the Bills to a 500 record.
Oh, 10. It's not going to be Allen's fault. Just the team is trash. The O-line's absolute garbage.
The Chicago Bears win the NFC North.
You know what? Right now, I'm giving it a 5.
Tom Brady saying he would divorce Bill Belichick if he could.
9. Oh, no, sorry. I fully believe that, actually. Give me a 2.
All right. None of Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, or Big Ben are on the Steelers next year.
Ooh, none of them?
None of them.
9. I think at least one of them is staying.
Jameis Winston isn't in the NFL in 3 years.
9 as well. I think he still will be in some capacity.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is a better quarterback than Troy Aikman. Blech.
Oh, that's a big old 0 because it's absolutely true. He is a better quarterback than Troy Aikman.
For some reason, I choked on my tongue saying Aikman, but whatever. Vontae Davis is more hated by the Bills than Le'Veon Bell is by the Steelers.
Ooh. 10. No. Wait. Repeat it.
Vontae Davis is more hated by the Bills than Le'Veon Bell is by the Steelers.
0. He could rot. Fuck him. What a quitter. What a bitch. Honestly.
And now, it's time for my favorite segment and yours, the 4th and Goal Doghouse.
Hey, if that last segment didn't give you an indicator of who I'm putting in the doghouse, let me tell you one more time. It's Vontae Davis, the bitch.
Boom.
I don't even have to explain it. He quit in the middle of a game like a bitch.
That he did. He is also an asshat.
Yeah.
Vontae Davis and John Gruden are asshats, but they're neither of them are my doghouse pick. They're neither of them. Neither of them are my doghouse pick this week. It is Mr. Steve Wilkes, the head coach of your Arizona Cardinals, for saying that they need to scale back the playbook. Scale back the playbook. They run 3 plays. That is their playbook. You have a run up the middle, you have a run to the right side off tackle, and you have a screen pass. That's all you run every single down. How about throwing the ball on 2nd down or throwing the ball on 1st down every once in a while, huh? Maybe that'll get a guy who's involved, who's known for being a great receiver out of the backfield, and David Johnson, when you're saying that you have to alter the way that you work with David Johnson. Well, how about that? How about giving him some opportunities in the passing game? How about actually throwing the ball every now and then? How about not scaling the playbook back? How about firing Mike McCoy and firing Steve Wilkes and getting some guys who know how to actually run a football team? I don't care if it's the 2nd week of the season. You put up 3 points through 2 games. Your offense is garbage. Your defense has talent. Stop wasting it. Put some meat out there. Throw the ball. Steve Wilkes. Steve Wilkes is my doghouse pick.
Nice. Man, how does it feel to anyone listening right now that you're listening to a podcast with the 2 guys who like the 2 worst teams in the NFL?
Yeah, we don't need to talk about it. They could actually be the 2 most disappointing franchises in NFL history, too. The Cardinals have the lowest winning percentage of any team in the history of the league.
4 Super Bowls in a row.
The Bills lost 4 Super Bowls in a row and then didn't make the playoffs for 206 years.
In a fucking row.
They finally made them last year. Now it's going to start another streak of 2 decades without making them.
100%.
Yeah. This is and normally I'd say, hey, at least my fantasy team's good, but my fantasy teams aren't good this year because I can't draft wide receivers to save my life. We don't have Christian here, but I got a question prepared anyway, and they're only relevant for the week that I prepare them. So let's go ahead and ask it anyway. Andrew.
Yeah.
Proto. Reese.
That's me.
The Browns came into tonight's game as home favorites for the first time in, well, a very long time. What was the date of the last game in which they were home favorites?
Holy shit, are you kidding me? Alright, oh jeez, okay. It's 2018 right now. The last time they were a favorite in a game.
In a home game.
In a home game. Alright, I got this. September 16th, 2014.
Wrong, but closer than I thought you would have been. It's December 13th, 2015 versus the 49ers. They won that game 24-10 behind a career-best 92.1 passer rating from starting quarterback Johnny Manziel.
Shut up.
That was the last time that they were betting favorites in a home game.
That same man is starting this weekend for the Montreal Alouettes. Make sure you watch the CFL.
And he's been garbage so far, in case you were wondering. That's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. That was your 4th and goal question. Remember, until next week, when it comes to the Fourth and Goal podcast, always go for it.